What's up guys, and welcome back to another Wynand Crypto video. What if I told you that 95% of the world's governments are secretly building the future of money right now, and one technology might just power them all? Buckle up, because October 2025 could change everything we know about digital currency. The financial world is experiencing its biggest transformation in decades, and the European Central Bank is leading the charge. They've been quietly testing revolutionary technologies, and today I'm going to walk you through this journey step by step, uncovering the clues that reveal what's really happening behind closed doors. So if you're ready to discover what the future holds, hit that like button, drop your questions in the comments below, and let's get started. Watch this.
I think that's coming. There are big transformations afoot in that field.
So how much progress are we going to see on a digital euro in 2025?
We have a cut-off date, which is October. So October 2025, my governing council has to decide whether we move forward or not. So that's an important date. My strong hope is that by then, the European Parliament has passed the legislation that will support the technological work, the policy work, the unified rule book that we are working on, so that we can launch.
Here is Christine Lagarde dropping some serious hints about what's coming. She's talking about October 2025. That's the deadline when the ECB Governing Council must decide whether to move forward with their digital currency revolution. What's fascinating is where we are right now. The ECB has already completed their technology testing phase. They're not still figuring out if blockchain works. They know it does. What they're doing now is working with Parliament to update laws and regulations so they can officially launch a digital euro as sovereign currency. It's like having a rocket ready for launch, but waiting for mission control to give the green light. Here is what blew my mind when I dug deeper. The ECB is developing something called the digital euro, designed to provide a secure digital complement to cash and existing electronic payments across the entire eurozone. But here's the kicker: they're targeting not just individual consumers, but businesses too, creating a complete ecosystem that could reshape how money moves in Europe. The current timeline is incredible. We're in what they call the preparation phase, running until October 2025, but get this, the actual launch isn't expected until potentially 2028. Now, I know that sounds far away, but considering how massive this undertaking is, that's lightning speed in government terms. Plus, they could accelerate things if everything goes smoothly. Here is something most people don't realize. There are actually two main components to every central bank digital currency. First, there's the retail version for you and me, when we want to buy coffee or shop online. But the real game changer, the wholesale version that governments will use first. Think about it logically. When a country adopts a CBDC, they would start with wholesale because that's what allows them to trade with all their international partners. We're talking about using blockchain technology to slash fees, speed up transactions, and create real accountability. Once it's on a blockchain, you can't erase the history. Every transaction is permanently recorded and traceable. This transparency could revolutionize how governments track spending and ensure every dollar and penny is accounted for. That's why I believe wholesale adoption comes first, then retail follows for everyday consumers and businesses. Now here's where things get really interesting: the technology and interoperability requirements. The ECB isn't building this in isolation. They need it to work seamlessly with existing payment infrastructure like Target Services, which is already one of the major payment systems in the European zone. Watch this. The ECB has been exploring distributed ledger technology, including blockchain, as a key enabler for more secure and efficient wholesale settlements. But they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. They're testing multiple technologies while prioritizing interoperability. The systems need to work with Target Services, TIPS, which handles instant payments, and Target's 2S for securities clearing like stocks and bonds. When you read about cross-border payments and foreign exchange settlements, your mind should immediately go to Ripple. Why? Because Ripple currently covers about 90% of the global FX market, and by 2028, they're positioned to potentially cover all of it. That's not a coincidence, that's strategic positioning. The ECB has conducted extensive trials and experiments with various DLT platforms involving central banks, financial institutions, and technology providers. But here's the thing, they haven't officially announced their specific blockchain choice yet. Smart move actually. They're not putting the cart before the horse. They need parliamentary approval first, then they will reveal their preferred technology. What I found fascinating in my research was the existing connections. I cross-referenced all the names on the European Central Bank Council to see if I could find any connections to Ripple. While I didn't find tons of direct links, the institutional connections are absolutely there. Let me tell you about the broader interoperability picture. The Bank of France, Germany's Bundesbank, and the UK have all publicly tested Ripple's technology. We had the UK proof of concept with Ripple back in 2017-2018, and in recent years, the French central bank has been conducting various tests and making public announcements around the XRP ledger. Now, I want to be crystal clear here. There's tons of rumors and misinformation floating around online. People claim it's already decided that it's XRP. I'm here to tell you the truth. It hasn't been officially decided yet. I'm showing you the connections I'm discovering and making educated predictions based on evidence. Because that's what we do here. The only people who know for sure are insiders like Christine Lagarde herself. Now let's dive deeper into Target 2, because this is where things get really compelling. Target 2 has been setting the pace for standardizing payments between investment banks by leveraging virtual currency infrastructures such as Ripple. Through these existing connections, Ripple is already integrated into Target 2 and Target 2S. That's the securities component where massive value flows. Here's another fascinating connection. The task group that's embedded at the heart of the European Target 2 and T2S real-time gross settlement system from the very beginning. This system demands secure end-to-end processing times of less than 10 seconds, support for large transaction volumes to meet scalability requirements, secure availability around the clock without maintenance windows, and enable development processes with no service interruptions. When I researched every single connection between Target 2S payment system in Europe and Ripple XRP, here is what I discovered. Target 2, now being replaced by T2, is Europe's real-time gross settlement system for processing large value euro payments. It's used by central banks and commercial banks to settle payments in central bank money, supporting monetary policy and cross-border transactions within the Eurozone. The scale is mind-blowing. Over 1,000 banks are direct participants, and over 52,000 banks worldwide, including branches and subsidiaries, use this system. Think about major American banks like Wells Fargo and Chase with their nationwide and global branch networks. That's the European equivalent we're talking about. Here's where it gets even more interesting. TIPS, which is an extension of Target 2 launched by the European Central Bank to enable instant payment systems in Europe, is designed for payment providers handling real-time cross-border transactions. Industry reports suggest that TIPS could integrate Ripple's technology through Xcurrent and Xrapid, with the latter using XRP as a bridge currency. Now, there's no official confirmation from the ECB that Ripple and XRP are directly integrated into TIPS yet. These are the types of connections we have to research ourselves. But the industry partnerships are there, and Ripple's blockchain solutions are positioned as potential facilitators for instant cross-border payments. The European payment infrastructure is evolving rapidly. The ECB and the European Payment Council are actively promoting instant payments and interoperability. All these central banks want to send value between each other seamlessly. That's the holy grail of interoperability. When you think about central bank digital currency providers right now, what comes to mind? Probably Ripple, maybe MasterCard, possibly Hedera Hashgraph, or even R3, but we'll have to see how this plays out in real time. Let me show you the EU and UK countries that have already tested Ripple's technology, because this paints a compelling picture. Portugal has been Ripple partner with Unicambio to modernize cross-border payments between Brazil and Portugal. Ripple and PricewaterhouseCoopers even hosted a business event in Lisbon to discuss blockchain use cases including crypto-enabled payments and digital asset custody. Germany's second largest bank, Deutsche Bank, DZ Bank, has integrated Ripple technology and digital asset solutions. This bank supports 700 other banks. They're essentially a bank for banks, holding assets worth about 700 billion euros. This massive value is getting tokenized and could potentially wind up on the XRP ledger through Ripple custody or similar solutions. Sweden's SEB, Scandinavian bank, you can tell me how to pronounce it in the comments, has reported collaborating with Ripple to improve financial services. Switzerland, although not an EU member, is often included in European financial discussions, and BBVA Switzerland is also a Ripple custody partner. Now watch this. Across the European Union, Ripple is discussed as a potential technology provider for the European Central Bank Digital Euro project. There are persistent rumors and leaks about possible contracts, but no official confirmation yet. The reason they can't announce this publicly is obvious. If they revealed it was Ripple's technology or R3's or anyone else's, that company would see a massive boost. They want to keep everything under wraps until the last possible moment. The EU's markets in crypto assets, MiCA regulation is enabling cross-border adoption of Ripple's technology. I showed you documentation recently proving that Bitcoin and Ethereum are allowed for bank payments under MiCA regulation. When you see XRP being enabled in the European zone, you really start thinking this could definitely be XRP. My honest belief, I think XRP has a real shot here, or I wouldn't be creating this content for you. The United Kingdom has seen Ripple partner with several UK-based companies like IFX TransferGo, Currency Direct, and ClearJunction to facilitate cross-border payments. Ripple is actively advocating for clear crypto regulations and envisions London as a leading hub for digital currencies. Here is something interesting about Canada. The new Prime Minister Mark Carney used to be at the Bank of England during the time they were conducting all these tests with Ripple and XRP. It will be fascinating to see what Canada does next with CBDCs and what technology they choose. There are also documented connections with France's central bank and Ripple. All you need to do is search France Central Bank XRP or France Central Bank Ripple on Twitter and you'll find extensive connections. We've discussed this at length before. Michael S. Barb, when he was working with Ripple, met with Christine Lagarde way back. While some of the documentation floating around is questionable, there's definitely a real Bank of France document that officially mentions Ripple and XRP. Remember this clip from Christine Lagarde? Let's just listen to the last bits, where she talks about where she sees changes happening.
Two new technologies that will actually change the way in which intermediation is conducted. Eliminate some of the barriers, including the unconscious biases that exist out there. And I think in the banking system at large in many countries, the difference will not be between those who are disrupted and those who survive, but it will be between those who are cannibalized because they are not seeing it coming and they're not embracing it, and those who self-induce that cannibalization. And I'm using cannibalization on purpose because it's a bit of a striking, horrible word. But it's really what it means. It's you're going to disrupt your business model, you're going to change it, you're going to reduce your cost, you're going to expedite your transactions, and you're going to continue to inspire confidence because you will build that on the basis of an existing backbone, which is your bank and the confidence relationship that you've established with your customers. So that's where I see changes happening now. If you think of Circle and Ripples and all those, that's where they are active and helpful.
The key phrase there, if you think of Circle and Ripples and all of those, that's where they are active and helpful. Now, if central banks decided to use Circle, they're really not a CBDC provider. They're more of a stablecoin technology company. Remember, we just had the EuroP, a stable Euro stablecoin built on the XRP ledger that went live in Europe. There is real utility that people can point to and say, hey, this is working, or this technology is being used. The proof is in the pudding. Watch this. The coordination and global cooperation happening right now is unprecedented. The US is moving, and I've said for years the United States is the catalyst for the crypto bull cycle. Not just a bull run, but a full cycle, because the world's largest economy is turning on the lights and getting in the game. Here's Ripple and MiCA. All of this matters for the European Central Bank. The same ECB that's developing their own payment system is actively discussing this technology right now. They're talking about Ripple, and there are connections to SEPA, Single Euro Payments Area as well, which I've shown in the past. Watch this. You can search SEPA plus Ripple on Twitter and find tons of different materials, clips, text, documents, whatever you want to see. It's all documented. What I'm trying to show you is the interoperability between Ripple, XRP, and the payment system that are already live in Europe. They already know the technology works. They've been testing it for over a decade. That's the crucial point there. They're not going to pick some new technology that they just launched last month. They need years of sandbox testing to feel comfortable with technology that will allow a country to offer a digital representation of their sovereign currency. It's pretty exciting stuff, by the way. And you guys, I have a special trick for you, which nobody seems to be using, and I cannot wrap my head around why, because if you sign up through my link down in the description onto the BTCC exchange, you get a 10% deposit bonus, and now stay with me here. Now here comes the important part. If you have any trading capital on any other exchange and you move it to your newly created BTCC account, you get, on top of your capital you moved, another 10% extra trading capital. As an example, so if you move or deposit 100k to your account, you get 10k for free. I'm not kidding. I really don't understand why nobody's doing this. To me, it really seems like people sometimes are too lazy or just don't like free money. I mean, like, I cannot make that account for you. You will need to do that yourself, alright? So let's jump back into the video. Ripple has been partnered with the Digital Euro Association for quite some time now. You will also find documents from Deloitte dating back to 2016 showing connections with Temenos, Ripple, and T24 Technology, Bluezell, Altitude, Gateway Technology. Temenos is connected to over 3,000 financial institutions, many of them in Europe. Here's the final thought. October 2025 is going to arrive before we know it. Whether we get an announcement that it's XRP, Ripple, or a different technology entirely, at least we'll finally understand what direction they're heading. This will help us predict what other countries might choose for their CBDCs. Remember, the most important factors here are security, reliability, and interconnectedness. Interoperability between different payment systems. That's why something like XRP or a stablecoin built on the XRP ledger makes sense. You can seamlessly go from euros to dollars to pounds or any other currency, all happening very cheaply and cost efficiently on the XRP ledger. Christine Lagarde knows it, the European Central Bank knows it, the Bank of France, the Bank of England, and governments around the world understand this technology. The question is, what will they decide? I will leave that decision up to you to ponder. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. I saw that Christine Lagarde clip and felt compelled to give you a fresh update on what's happening. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy these comprehensive updates and analysis. Have an amazing weekend, and don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe for more cutting-edge crypto insights that could change your financial future. Thank you very much for watching. Wynand Crypto out.